Buckle up for a chat with Krystal Parker, the dynamo leading the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce with both heart and hustle. Once told she couldn't keep up with her brainy siblings, Krystal flipped the script, becoming her organization's youngest VP and one of 5 women bold enough to crash a 60-man boardroom. Golf swings and racquetball serves, she aced those too, turning her gender into her secret weapon.
Krystal is all about relationships, from cold calling a hedge fund legend for lunch to launching her own consulting firm. She's helped boards trade chaos for clarity. But ambition's got a burn rate, and Krystal's learned the hard way. Never ditch your faith for a deal.
Today, we'll unpack how she steers a nonprofit differently from a business and why relationships trump resumes. Get ready for wit, wisdom, and a few truth bombs from the one and only Krystal Parker.
Thanks, guys.
Lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Bolts. I'm an attorney and founder of Bolts Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Bolts, owner of Bolts Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the miss in biz.
Let's get biz done.
Action. Before we begin, we have a surprise for you.
Oh?
And
So excited.
Why am I nervous?
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous.
so here we go. Trying my new technology.
Yo, I am feeling the triumph on this one.
Like if you had a humble beginning, but then rose to the top?
Like if I grew up in a small town working in a call center, but now I'm dominating business in the big city like it's a sport.
Rachel, that's oddly specific.
I have my reasons. Check this out. Krystal Parker's here representing Gen X, a leader with vision who has earned our respect. Prez of the U.S. Christian Chamber.
Correct.
That's a heck of a flex. Now it's time to connect.
She grew up in Moscow.
Wait, Russia?
No, Kansas, with only 7 people in her high school class. Her dad taught school, her mama worked grain. She'd have to leave town so she could grow up fast.
Early on, she was doubted by some old-fashioned men.
That's no place to begin.
So she applied within.
She was true to herself and she surpassed her kin, and God showed up every time to guarantee every win.
She knows life is not a game where every robot wins. So sit back and relax and take this episode in.
Oh my gosh. Oh, repeat. Oh my God, I love that. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
What? No, thank you. I've got to have, that's my new intro right there. For
send
every
it to
time I
you.
speak, I'm going to be like, here's my life story right here. You guys are amazing. Thank
love
you.
you so much.
Thank you. I love you too. And what an introduction.
Yes. I am so excited today to have with us not only a powerhouse Christian businesswoman, but someone who is a dear friend to me. Some of you may not know this, but Krystal is actually my gym accountability partner. So every time I go to the gym, I take a selfie and send it to Krystal, and she's never allowed to show anybody.
I was going to say, are we going to do that right now? Because I got some good ones.
No, every time I send it, I'm like, she better never show anyone these selfies. These are the worst pictures I've ever taken.
Oh my gosh, Frick, but the funny was, like, the first couple of times I got pictures, it was like, and now I get this big smile. It's so good. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. So she keeps me in check to meet my goals. But it is just such an honor to have you here, Krystal. You are going to be so impressed with her story and everything that she has accomplished in life, and also her faith journey and the challenges that she's overcome. So let's jump right in and talk about you. One of the things that stood out to me about your story is your childhood. And as children, our identity is shaped so much by what our parents tell us about ourselves. And so was there anything in your life as a child, any statements made to you that impacted your future in business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You would hope that it would be like, oh, you're amazing, fan the fire, medals and trophies and things, but it was a little different than that for me and my family. Oftentimes, we were exceptional athletes in our family. We'd go out, we'd crush it on the basketball court, and when I'd get home, it'd be like, but you missed this layup and you missed that. I'm like, I had a triple double, like I'm number one in the, so it was always like, here's what you can do to improve. And, my dad was in academics his whole life, teacher upon teacher. Like there's a legacy of teachers in my family. So they really valued book smarts in my family. And unfortunately, book smarts was not really easy for me. I was great with people and I liked some of the more creative and arts things, but remembering scientific equations and all that, math, oh my gosh, no, it was not my gifting in life. And so I'll never forget when my dad told me, he said, you're not as smart as your brother and sister. You're just gonna have to get lucky, like me, is what he said. And man, just a little comment like that, just one little thing in passing for him, he didn't say it to be mean to me, but oh my gosh, I wore that. I internalized that, and what I heard him say was, you're dumb, you're an idiot, you're not, I would be sitting in class and just feeling like I had the dunce cap on, and everything I did at that point forward was to prove my dad wrong. And so I would sit at the kitchen table for hours and study well past when my super smart brother and sister are sleeping. I'm up at night trying to memorize, trying to prove that I'm not an idiot. And that that stinking thinking crept in for many, many years, and I wore that identity and I didn't know it, and it held me hostage of, I wouldn't put anything out, I wouldn't write anything publicly because I was just afraid that people would find out the truth, that I was a real dummy. And it was just really, that one little comment, undid everything that I believed about myself.
Mm-hmm. And that stood out to me so much because I think we all have those comments that people say to us. I'll never forget when my sister told me, she's 15 years younger than me, and she told me as an adult something that I had said to her.
Wow.
That impacted her when she was young, and I had no memory of it. She said I was trying to teach her to play the piano, and she wasn't getting it, and I just said, I give up. And just by me saying I give up, she internalized that. And as an adult, she never pursued music. Aww. Like the rest of our family did. And she became a dancer. And she just said that I kind of broke her heart when I said I give up. And I didn't mean I was giving up permanently. I just meant I gave up in that moment. I don't even remember saying it.
Yeah.
I never in a million years would have thought that would have that kind of impact on her. So it is just so easy to say something that you don't realize how much it's going to impact people. Even your story, I started thinking about things that people had said to me. Mm-hmm. And I just remember my dad always saying, my kids are tough.
Okay. And
so I never wanted to be that weak. I remember him sometimes calling women a basket case. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I never wanted to be a basket case.
Right.
I wanted to be tough. And so all my life I've been trying to be tough.
Yeah.
And it's become my identity, and my brand, and everything is about being tough. And I think that's probably where it comes from. Rachel, do you have any things that were said to you as a child that formed or impacted you?
Yes, I did. Actually, as we were talking about, our experiences, I'm sitting here thinking about just all of the little different things, not just what impacted my business journey, but what impacted my personal life as well. I remember when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, I had went with my parents over to a church member's house. They were an elderly couple, and we were going to help them with like yard work. And I was going through growth spurts and changes, and I had gotten a little chunky. I would get chunky and then I would spurt up, and then I would get chunky and then I would spurt up. And the lady, her name was Ethel, she said to me, "Oh, you're getting a little bit chunky. Don't get fat like mommy." And that hit me so hard that I decided that I'm gonna get really serious about working out and getting healthy. So since I was like 8 or 9 years old, I would do crunches at night because I didn't want to get fat like she said. So I am very enthusiastic about health and fitness. I have been, and I think that has a large reason why I'm that way.
That's amazing too, but it also works in the positive too.
Yeah.
So I know for me, like I've had people speak positive. I really believe in mentorship, like the power of mentorship. And for the number one reason of a mentor, for me, at least in my career, my profession, they've seen in me things that I couldn't see myself in a positive way. And believed in me in ways like I just remember getting that first opportunity to be an officer in the company, and it was because somebody believed in me, and I didn't even see that for myself. I didn't even know. So it works in the opposite way too. If people come to you, I'm sure you guys have had this, where they say, "You said this over my life, and because of it, I've XYZ'd." We call those lollipop moments. Like if you've ever created a lollipop moment for somebody and really impacted them in a positive way, those are great things to hear. But yeah, the negative, man, I tell you, that's 40 years of therapy right here at this table right now. Not because I'm 40, but because I took 10 years in the wilderness. No, I'm just kidding.
I love that perspective, Krystal, because I think a lot of times we tend to reflect more on the negative, but you're absolutely right on how just important it is to look at the positive and how that has impacted you.
So I love how you shared about mentorship, but in addition to that, first I want to encourage our listeners to take some time to reflect now on what are those statements that people made to you in those formative years that you've taken as your own, and they've become deep-rooted beliefs that aren't true about yourself, that are holding you captive and causing you to strive for things that aren't God's plan for you. Identify what those things are, and then release them to the Lord. Forgive that person for saying those things about you, and ask him who you really are. What is the true statement about who he has made you to be and how he sees you? Is there any other advice, Krystal, that you would have for people who are just struggling and keep going back to those ungodly beliefs that they have about themselves?
100%. So part of what you're saying is so powerful. I call it stinking thinking. So really learning to hear that, because it drives you, and it can drive you unconsciously if you don't take captive of those thoughts. So I'm glad and encouraged that you have people just sit here and think, just even if you have to pause the recording for a minute, just let it wash over you, because a lot of times there's pain in that, especially when you start to realize it. For me, it started to come out in different ways before I really realized even that it was driving me, in ways of feeling I had to be perfect, overworking to exhaustion, and really perpetuating this life cycle of overworking. Didn't matter where I went, what I did. I was always striving, working, trying to be perfect. And then that was creating a culture that was trickling into the people that I was leading of perfectionism, has to be perfect. Well, as a leader, you're taking that on. And so when I started to really do the inventory, what I really believe, everybody wants to be discovered, but really to be discovered, you've got to go through development. And I heard John Maxwell say at one time, he spoke, he was signing books. It was an auditorium of like 35,000 people. He's signing books. Somebody comes up to him and says, I want to do what you do. And he says, you have to be willing to do what I did. And I think some of the did is really getting down to that deep rooted, sort of like an iceberg. You've got to get down there and take inventory of what's driving you unconsciously. And so for me, when I started to do that work and here, I heard that stinking thinking. And the crazy thing about that is that woman's voice was so nasty and so evil, but it was my voice. And when I could start to hear those thoughts of my own voice saying these negative, terrible things to me, I just started taking inventory of it. And so what I learned to say was, yes, that is true. I'm not as smart as my brother and sister. That's the honest to God truth. From book smart to book smart, I'm sure they took an IQ test. They've got me. But I was better at people than them. And then 85% of job success is well-developed people skills. And so I started to learn that, hey, I'm uniquely and wonderfully made in the image of God. And God doesn't make no junk. And so he didn't make a mistake with, hey, you're not good at math, so therefore your life is just going to have to be lucky. It was like, hey, let's start to lean into what you are good at and really taking the lie and turning it on its head. So, yep, that's true. Yes, I have been divorced, but I am a child of the living King of God. And so all this crap, stinking thinking that was just stacked upon my life, I just started to really take inventory, dig out of it, positive affirmation, use the word of God, because that's the only truth. No matter what the world sticks to you, the actual true living word of God is the truth about who we are as our identity, and really leaning into that. So that's what I've done.
I love that. And some people don't even know where to start. So if you're someone who knows you have some deep-rooted beliefs that are holding you back, get a therapist.
Yeah.
I've been through therapy for years in my life, and I think that it can help people at all stages of life. Get a Christian counselor, Christian therapist to just help walk you through the steps to overcoming these stinking thinking.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your professional story. Start back with your first position at the front desk and tell us about that journey that led you to become a vice president of a Fortune 200 oil and gas company.
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those things where I was burning out of my small town, which I think you might hear a little bit about on my jingle there. And ended up in college. I dropped out of college, 21 hours left. But again, perpetuating the cycle of what was said over me and not realizing it. So I come back to my small town of 300, and I thought, well, I should get a job. And there was a job that was open, and it was through a temp agency, stocking shelves in a truck parts store, which was a subsidiary of an oil and gas company. So here I am stocking shelves in this truck parts store, and then I overheard them talking about, well, we're going to have to hire somebody to run the desk and run the office. And so I go home and tell my mom, I said, I think they're going to do interviews, teach me about accounting. Remember, I told you I was a dummy at math. I think it was really stupid. So my mom's like, okay, I'm going to teach you everything. So I go in with all my memorized stuff, and I'm going to impress them. Well, somehow I end up getting the job. But that subsidiary that was working on trucks and the compressor stuff, it didn't work out. So they let that business go, but they said, but we've got a front desk position because you've done a good job. And so I went to be a secretary at one of the companies. I was the only woman in that company, and they were doing transportation of the gas. And I took the secretary job, and then they needed some help with payroll and accounting, so I kept growing. And I remember at this point I bought my first house. I was doing very well. I was very happy. But there was something inside of me that said, I want more. I want to learn more. I want to do more. I got a taste of business, and I loved business. I had my first, gig. We raised pigs and sold them. We had a lawn mowing business. You're entrepreneurial. You guys get it, right? Like, we had made money always, but I really liked it. And so I remember going to my manager and saying to him, is there something else I could do to make more money and to grow as a leader? And it was kind of like, well, little lady, you're going to have to find you another office job. And it's in reality, like, fairness for him, like, he really thought that he could never see a woman in the gas business doing supervisory work there.
It's that old school mentality right there.
Yeah, little lady. So
Darling.
Yeah, sweetie. Oh, yeah, we've been called it all. Don't do that to the ladies. I would just call them right back. If they called me darling, I'd say, yeah, darling. Yeah, sweetie. They didn't like it, so we'll call back to them. So I did what he said. I was coachable. I heard him. I put my house up for sale. There was a job open in another office 6.5 hours away back up in Kansas City. And so there was an HR role. And so I applied for that. But the cool thing was it was in another division of the company. And so when I went in for the interview, I'll never forget it because the boss was a woman. And there was another woman in there for interviews and 2 other men. And one of the ladies, she had her glasses on like this. She says, she's from Texas, can you name me 2 vice presidents from Kansas Gas Service? Well, I didn't know because I came from the partner side. I said, well, I don't know any executives from the Kansas Gas Service, but I can tell you 2 from the partner side. And she says, well, honey, you're looking at 2 of them right here. And I thought, at that moment, I thought, I want to be her when I grow up. I mean, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. There's women and leaders here. This is the best ever. So somehow I got that job. The favor of the Lord was on me. I went from HR to supervising the call center. And the supervisor in the call center was all union employees. Twice my age, and they thought I was a spy coming in from HR. They were not nice to me. I didn't know anything about their system, compliance, or anything, and they really did think I was spying on them because there were so many grievances at the time. The cool thing was the Lord leveled the playing field because it took their CIS system out, put a whole new one in across the company so the 3 distribution companies could get together, and so I became the expert. So they needed me at that point. And so from there, I went on to sell natural gas and on the gas side. So we were trading basis differential, all in the same company, but I'm moving from place to place. And I would love to say strategically, but that's not the case. I just wanted to get out of the call center, tried for an accounting job. One of my employees took the job. Boy, that was a bad day. Could have quit, but I didn't. I was just like, okay, well, that's not the right job. I'll go to the next one. Selling gas. I'm selling gas. I hear that the director of the call center was open. I was the supervisor when I was there, manager, director. Here I am over here, still in the same company, but a different division. And I remember reaching out to that vice president, who is a woman, and I said to her, can I talk to you about that director job? She said, yeah, come up to my office. I went up there. That was my interview. Didn't know it. I ended up getting that job. On the way home from hearing that offer, I called my mom. I said, Mom, I got offered this job as a director, skip level. I said, do you know what the best part of it is? This is true. I'll never forget saying this to her. Do you know what the best part of me getting that job is? She said, what? I said, I'm going to be working for a woman, so nobody can say I slept my way there. That's the culture that I was in. And I was so glad because now I earned it, right? Like nobody could take it away from me. And so I became the director of my old bosses, which was crazy. And then I was there for maybe 9 months, and it was her and the president of Kansas Gas Service that put me up for an executive role in Texas. And I just remember thinking, I've only been here for a little bit. I never was a manager. Now I'm a director, but was doing great things.
Wow.
I go and become the youngest executive over West Texas, all of West Texas, 47 cities, running the gas company. I'll never forget that first officers meeting. My boss and the president said, don't say anything, just look like you are enjoying yourself, but speak not. And so I was like, okay. Well, anyway, the guy that had said, little lady, right? I mean, he comes up to me, he couldn't believe it, right? Because now I'm running the gas company from burner tip to to the house to where they're pulling the gas. That's me. Construction, engineering, service. I'm responsible for all of it, only by the grace of God. But I started to go like, whoa, look at me. So I got my undergrad in psychology, my master's in marketing. I'm working on that now. And then we did a change, and they went from geography to function. So they took me and put me over all of customer service for the 3 distribution companies. And so I served in that role. They sent me to Harvard Business School, and the rest is history. It was a wild ride, lots of lessons. Talk a little bit about it in my book and some of the things.
Man, that is so impressive, Krystal.
I can't take credit for it because honestly, if you look at it, only explainable by God. People don't get that story. They just don't. That it's not a story that you can say, I'm so smart, I'm such a hardworking person, I intuitively knew everything. It was literally like God shut the door when I went the wrong path, opened the right door for me to go. I had people one time say to me, how did you get this job? Who do you know that you got this job and this? And I don't know anybody, but I knew God. God had a plan for my life, but it wasn't about that. It was really about creating the training ground for me there so I could do what I get to do today.
Finding guests for a podcast can be difficult sometimes, so Brooke and I wanted to let you guys know that we are available to appear on your podcast.
We also enjoy speaking at events. So if you have an event coming up, these jingles can go on the road.
Simply go to missbiz.com/contact and in the subject line, write podcast guest or event speaker, and we'll reach out to you to further coordinate. Just such a great example of overcoming any sort of negativity, roadblocks, barriers, self-limiting thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So I appreciate your humility in saying that God opened those doors, and I do believe that He did. And I know that He set you on that path and opened those doors to promotion for you. But He chose you for a reason. Mm-hmm. There was something about you that He honored, that He wanted to raise you up through those ranks. And we now know later in the story where you are now. And another part of your story that really stood out to me was before starting the U.S. Christian Chamber, you were the president of the Central Florida Christian Chamber. And what I could not believe is that in your first meeting with the former president, he knew this is the one. This is the one who's going to become my successor and be the new president. So there's something about you. There's something about you that God honors and recognizes, but people are drawn to as well. So what is it? What is your secret? What is that personality trait that people can learn from or hone within themselves that can help them get to these higher levels of leadership that they're striving for?
That's fair. Well, I said it earlier, but I'll re-emphasize it. 85% of job success is well-developed people skills. Truly, it's proven. It's not just this is a statistical fact about business, is people skills drive results. Unless you're a one-man show, not serving customers, not working with peers or contractors or anything, but there's no such thing. Everybody's got a customer, everybody serves someone, and hopefully you have a team that you're leading, and your ability to work with people is truly an opportunity for success. And so that has been my secret sauce, if you will, of just being able to really cast a vision, work with people. I think because of what happened to me early and feeling less than, I was able to really see the best in people around me and get them in the right seats. So I really love having a diverse team around me too. The knowledge of, hey, you're really good with math, I need that. Instead of going, oh, they're good with math, they make me intimidated, they're gonna make me look stupid. It was like, I need you on my team because you're smarter than me. So it's like, find the best people and then get out of the way is really what it comes down to. So people, you will never go wrong with people in business.
And people skills is really just stated a little differently, is loving people.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Just
right.
Loving them, serving them, appreciating them, honoring them. All those things are what leads to your success. I remember seeing a video recently where they did a study on the common trait among kids who were popular in school. And I was super drawn into this because that, of course, my kid having teenagers, that's something that is top of mind for them all the time. And I would have thought it would have been attractiveness or athleticism or whatever. No, the common trait was that the popular people were the ones who walked through the hallways and said, "Hey, nice to see you today. I like your shoes," and just were vocal about complimenting others and being friendly to their classmates. That was the common trait.
I get it. Yeah.
And that was you, and that is you. You are the person who's complimenting others, who's giving them a hug, having a warm smile,
Bringing them up, serving
Yes.
them, doing anything you can in your power to help them, even before they need help. That's a great point, Brooke. I didn't cut you off.
No, thank you. But also, people like me struggle with that sometimes. Like
Really?
even though I have a love for people in my heart, there's a vulnerability that comes with loving people because they can reject you.
Yeah, it's true.
And so sometimes we shut ourselves off from showing that love to other people because either we see it as being weak. We're not tough if we're saying, "You look so
that
beautiful
tough.
today." That's
There's
not
that
tough.
right?
It's not tough for me to say,
good.
"You just look so beautiful." Like, that's not tough, right? So either it is uncomfortable because it challenges their own how they're trying to portray themselves or how they want to be seen, or it opens them up to now being rejected and being hurt. So what would you say to people who can hear your story and see, wow, she has done fantastic things because of her love for people and her people skills, but I really struggle with that?
Yeah, I think it comes back to, I'll give you a quick story so that I can make my point. But one of the things I really struggled with as a supervisor, a young supervisor, was holding people accountable because I wanted everybody to like me, right? And so I would see, like, even in oil and gas, I would see people doing things that maybe weren't safe, like a safety issue or not having safety glasses on, or maybe I had a customer service agent that I could hear ripping a customer out, which I would never do. And I would, I would pretend, I would ignore it. I would pretend I didn't hear, or I would intentionally go to the bathroom so I did not have to have that confrontation. And what I learned a little bit later, which totally transformed how I led, was you're making it about yourself and you're not helping them to be successful. And when I caught that, I was like, oh, this is more about me than it is about them being successful. And if I have something that can help them be successful, I'm robbing from them in their career. And so I would say that kind of that same point for people that are feeling, you know, I've heard it said this way: if you're thinking something about someone, for example, I get to sit between the two most beautiful women I know. Like, this is the coolest moment. Like, I'm seriously pinching myself and then wishing I would have did a little bit more here today. So, but if you're thinking something, like it's a compliment to somebody or how nice somebody made you feel or whatever, and you hold that in and you don't give it back to them, it's almost like you're withholding from them an opportunity, something that can build them up and brighten them. And so I know you're, like, for people or yourself, I know you think those things, and so it's just releasing them and truly pouring into others. I've heard it said this way in business too: before you ask for a hand, you've got to touch a heart. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I mean, these are some of the things Ziegler was known to say: if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And it truly is about, if you can just serve people and help them shine and then just pour into them, then, you know, you're going to raise them up. And then, you know, and don't do it for selfish reasons, but truly do it because you want to care for other people, and you're just going to ride the shine, you know?
That's such good advice. So the consequence, I guess, of rising to the top. How old were you when you became a VP?
I was 34.
34 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just, and you were the youngest, right? The
Youngest officer in that company, yes. And I don't know that there's ever been anybody younger than me, and maybe there's a reason for that.
Yeah. The youngest and one of 5 women
Yep.
in executive roles within that company. So you made it to the top really quickly. But it, of course, comes with some sacrifices. And I've heard you call that the burn rate.
Yeah.
What is the burn rate?
Well, for a workaholic like myself, and that I understand why I did it and what that was about, but I remember, I mean, if you're serving in a Fortune 200 company, you bleed the color of the logo. So if your logo's blue, you bleed blue. Or if it's green, you're bleeding the color of that logo. You eat it, you sleep it, you think it, you dream it, you sacrifice for it. And there is no saying no. Oh man, and this one, it still gets me today. My kid's 18, she's going to college, but I'll never forget the pain of this moment in my life, this sacrifice I made. So I got divorced. Shock. It's not shocking in that industry though, and in companies like that. So I get divorced because my eye's on the prize, and the prize is power, money, and more, and more of power. And so I get divorced. I become overnight, not just a single parent, but a solo parent. Big difference. So I become a solo parent. I've got this little girl who had been working for months on her Christmas program for her school. And our life completely flipped upside down. So becoming a solo parent, he was her biological dad, my ex-husband, was a stay-at-home dad. And now he's gone completely. And so we've got a little girl who's lost her dad, and here she is getting ready to perform at Christmas for her Christmas show. And I get the call from the company. And this is, I told you, we went from function to geography. It was going to be this huge change in the organization, and evidently they wanted and required all the officers to come in, I think it was 2 or 3 days before Christmas, to make this big announcement. Okay? Not optional. Here's this little girl, 3.5, 4 years old, I think 4 maybe at the time, and almost 4, yeah, because her birthday's the 29th. And she's so excited about her show. Now she's an opera singer, and she's a beautiful singer. But so to give you some clarity, singing was really important to her. So this was huge for her. And mommy, the only person that's stable for her, who was really trying to get herself, focused on being a single mom, gets called to Tulsa, mandatory. So daddy's gone. We have no family. Our family's 9 hours away, so we're in El Paso by ourselves. There's no family there. And who's going to be there for her? Well, her friend's mom is going to be there for her friend, and what? And so I remember my mom suggested, because my mom couldn't even get there fast enough, my mom suggested, hey, you've got somebody that you know that could be a stand-in grandma for her, and have this person just come be a stand-in and be there. And she was so sweet. She brought her a little bear and a flower and was that person for Gia. But the Miss Paulette Wingo, she called me, because we didn't have FaceTime then, right? This is a little age here. It's the lights. It's amazing. So Paulette calls me during the show so I could hear. You guys, I'm in my suit. I'm suited up, and this is when I used to wear pantyhose. And I'm suited up in my pantyhose, my heels, my pearls, and I'm in the basement bathroom of this, the tallest building in Tulsa. And I am hearing these kids sing, and I'm weeping, because at that point, at that moment in my life, I realized at that moment that I sold my soul for this company. All I had to do was say no, and the beat would still go on, and I would have been sitting there for that little girl that day, but I wasn't. And the guilt, the washing of the guilt, the failed marriage, the identity crisis I was in because everything was power, money, bleed the color of the logo. And now I'm putting my kids second to everything else. And so that burn, that guilt, that hours and hours and hours of it, it completely destroys the human spirit if you don't know who you are in Christ.
Wow.
That's
I need a
super
moment after
impactful.
that
I know.
story.
I'm
How
like
many
trying
years?
not to lose it up in here.
How many years later, and it's
Wow.
right there. I mean, it's a guilt.
Yeah.
It's guilt. It's true guilt, as if my marriage wasn't enough to be guilty about, right?
You want to know something funny? I'm thinking of the law firm that I worked for before I started my own business. We had to make sacrifices a lot. I don't have any impactful stories like that. I mean, that's a really heart-tugging moment that you went through, but we had to sacrifice time with our kids a lot. But the saying that they would say to me all the time was, studies show that children who have working mothers are more successful in life. And so I would just tell myself that, and they would tell me that. If you just work harder, even though you're not there with your kids, they're gonna later be more successful in life because they saw you as their example working hard. And so I don't know. I just that was something they said to me. I do think seeing a mom who's ambitious and working hard is a good role model for children, but there's definitely a line.
It is. My mentor told me there's going to be a time, it's like a pendulum. Sometimes your family needs you more than the work, and sometimes
Right.
work needs you more than the family. In that moment of my life, my kid needed me more than the job. And I was so focused on the job and so sold out to that I couldn't recognize it. So in that moment, I got it wrong. But I do agree. I do believe that you guys in your jingle, you talked about my mom and the grain elevator, right? But it's true. Like, I saw my mom work. My mom, if you know anything about Harvest, like, we wouldn't even see my mom. We'd have to go to the elevator to see her. She was the only woman manager. She was killing it. And with Harvest Hours, it was really hard, but that was the sacrifice she made. And then, of course, here I am. So I do believe that study, and I do believe it to be true, but you've got to learn to say no, ladies especially, but I think even men as well. If we can learn to say no and protect ourselves, that burn doesn't have to flame you out. I knew that was a shelf life. We made a lot of money. But I always said, making a lot of money because can't do this forever, because I will literally die doing this.
Yeah. So I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head with a really critical point, that the burn will kill you if you let it.
Yeah.
But if you can set those boundaries, you can still reach levels of success without letting it consume you.
100%. So after starting the chamber, I went through my second divorce. And this is part of my story. I mean, it's just part of like my journey in life and getting healed and really truly loving myself so that somebody else could love me and I could love them. Second divorce, sitting in a 5,000 square foot home in Windermere, Florida, and trying to decide, what are we going to do? You know, my warm market was, because of my oil and gas career, my warm market was in the Midwest, and here I become a solo mom again for my little girl. And this time I said, I'm doing it different, because what happened was my priorities were out of whack. So I couldn't. Disney said it like this: if the values are clear, decisions are easy. Well, my values were wrong. I had power, money, job at the top, everything else, family, and then God. That was sort of my order. Now, at this point where I'm at in Windermere, when I truly gave my life over to Christ, truly surrendered to Him, then I realized it's God, family, and then job. And once I got that right, and so I remember having that conversation with Giovanna, saying, my warm market's here, which means I'm going to have to be in a plane to go and build my consulting company up. Or we can move, or I can try to build something here in Florida and try to build. I didn't know anybody here really in terms of business. And we both agreed, we're going to stay here, and Mommy, you're going to build your business here in Florida. And somebody suggested the Christian Chamber, Central Florida. And that's when I said, okay, let me reach out to the president, Mark Goldstein. I reached out to Mark and I said, hey, I've heard about your Christian Chamber, and I'm just getting my consulting company off the ground. Would love to visit with you about it. 2 hours later, he calls his wife and says she's the one. He'd been waiting. He wanted to quit the Christian Chamber. He wanted to retire, but God would not allow him to release it. He couldn't find his successor. And then here's some girl that just got saved by the blood of Jesus and the living water of Christ, who loved business and loved the Lord and was sold out for God, came into coffee with him, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, that's just such an incredible story. And something that stood out to me that I hope listeners caught when you were talking is so much of our lives is spent running on that wheel to get financial success. Mm-hmm. And then when you were there, sitting in your 5,000 square foot house, mm-hmm. was when you realized this isn't it.
It's so empty. It's so empty. And the thing is when you're stuffing in money and power and things of the world that the world tells you is success, it is the most empty hole. It's like a hole that never gets filled. And you can stuff as much in there as possible. That's why so many people like win the lottery and stuff, just have just terrible lives, mm-hmm. because you stuff, and it's just insatiable. But once I experienced the living water of Jesus Christ, it was a washing that filled me. Every crack, every crevice, every hurt, every pain, everything I ever did to others, like it was gone. Guilt, shame. I was free from the bondage that I was living under of the system of the world. It's the world mm-hmm. systems. Yeah. Because the world recognizes it, like, oh, hell, the president of this and the title. And it's so empty. So when people say, who are you? I'm a child of the living King. That's who I am. I'm a child of God, and that alone is enough. Take the title, take whatever you want. Nothing can strip away who I am in him. And it's so freeing, Brooke. It is so freeing.
It had to be hard, though, to step away from that massive success and to then basically sacrifice your life for the Lord to now run a nonprofit.
Yeah. A lot of faith in
the
there.
U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. I mean, that had to be hard to give up what you had. Mm-hmm. And how hard was it?
It's been hard. It is hard. But it's really about realizing like my identity's not in it. And I heard this story once. It is so good. And it just reminds me of where I'm at. So this lady, she's standing on her front porch every day. She's hungry. She didn't have any money. She's like, oh God, bring me groceries. Oh God, bring me groceries. And her neighbor, who's an atheist, he just gets so tired of hearing her pray and cry out to God for groceries and things. So he decides he's going to go buy her groceries. So he goes and buys her groceries. He puts them on the front porch. He rings the doorbell and he goes and hides in the bushes. So she comes out. She says, oh, thank you, God. Thank you. I knew you were going to give me the groceries. Thank you, Jesus. So he pops up from behind the bushes and he says, God didn't do it. I did it. That God you serve, there's no such thing. And she goes, oh, thank you, Lord. You brought me groceries and you made the devil pay for it.
That's good. I like that.
I'm telling you, I'm living that life. I get to serve God and do this, and the money that I made when I was serving the company, God is paying me for it now. And so that right there was earned to give me a platform to serve in this way, to launch our nation's Christian Chamber of Commerce, and to do it in a way that we're not at a place where we've gone without. If anything, we have more. We have more, and the lessons and things I'm giving to my daughter are so much more filling about faith and hope and truly that mustard seed of faith and believing that this is really where God has placed me for the season. I don't know how long, but as long as I serve obediently, I'm going to hear that, well done, good and faithful servant. And I do believe that there's massive treasure stored up for me in heaven, ladies.
100%.
No doubt.
Do you love the Miss Biz podcast?
Because we love you.
Here's 3 things you can do to show your support.
1, write us a review. Apple, Spotify, and Google My Business are the best platforms to write a review.
2, follow us on social media. Our handle is at Miss Biz Podcast.
3, join our Facebook group, Miss Biz Nation, for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes footage. Also, ask questions related to your business and discuss topics from our episodes.
No doubt. So tell us a little bit more about the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. Our listeners are business professionals who could possibly be members or be interested in what the U.S. Christian Chamber offers. So tell them a little bit about what the U.S. Christian Chamber does so they can identify if it might be a good fit for them.
Awesome. Thanks for the opportunity to do it. Well, most people have been a part of chambers of commerce, which is a funny story because at 34, the first board I served on was Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce, which is a training ground God gave me. But we've all been part of chambers, and oftentimes chambers are really about business, exposure, resources, access to expert, and things that you wouldn't normally have, and then also helping serve in your community. Well, what's happened in this crazy world that we live in is we're becoming and have become more of a post-Christian society. And so what we're seeing more and more happening in these chambers is the Christians aren't really being served there. They're not a place for Christians to do business. If anything, and those of us that are fully Christian head and heart doing business know we do business different than the rest of the world. We use the Word of God. We believe in wisdom of God. We also believe that the Bible is the greatest instruction for helping us to be successful in the power of prayer and the Holy Spirit. That's just normal. That's normal operating procedure, and it's a significant competitive advantage in the marketplace. And so we want to hear from experts and collaborate with people that do business like us and don't look at us like, you're crazy. You're going to turn this to prayer. You're going to wait for divine connections. What are you talking about? So what we've done through the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce is we've created a space for Christians to do business, have access to experts, resources, collaborations, impact their cities. And we do it through a membership model, just like a Chamber of Commerce. But this is for people that say, I believe in Jesus Christ, the birth, death, and resurrection. And I want to do business with people that look and act and feel like me. High ethics. Hello, ethics, excellence, serving like Jesus, city set on the hill. That's who we are. We're running our businesses in a way, and we're not just looking for anybody to come into the Christian Chamber. At first I was like, can you breathe? I'll take you. Now it's like, listen, we want the best of the best because we've got to rebrand what Christianity in the marketplace looks like. It's not broke. It's not shady business. It's not somebody that's going to say I'm a Christ follower and be a wolf in sheep's clothes. We want the best of the best representing Christ in the marketplace. And in doing so, we are the greatest amount of people that can go out and reach the unchurched. Believers in the marketplace have 840 times more impact to reach the unchurched than a pastor on Sundays. And so we're out there in the marketplace, we're serving, so we're advancing the kingdom, we're strengthening Christian businesses, and we're being intentional about doing business together. This dollar should circle in the Christian community, and rising tide lift all ships. Christian mountain of economics, we're taking it back. It trickles into the other spheres of influence in our cities, and then that's how we're transforming cities. And so come be a part of it because this is a movement of God. We have 18 Christian chambers around the U.S. We're still growing. We're just a 19-month organization, and the Spirit of God is truly pushing this forward. So I do believe that we're changing our nation and changing how people do business. And so we'd love to serve people through membership, partnership. We've got a great conference coming up in April 26th. And of course, if you feel inclined, we do take your donations happily.
So how can people find you and apply for membership, come check you guys out? And all of that.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for that. It's uschristianchamber.com. So just simple uschristianchamber.com. You'll find us and be able to partner with us.
And look, this is the best way. Who we are, and if we have our priorities right, is God, family, business. And to be able to bring those things together, your the Lord and your business, there's not a lot of places that we can openly and outwardly do that. So, and I just love your story. It's just such a perfect story of how you had this massive business success and how the Lord is using all that you learned to advance his kingdom now.
Amen.
It's just so powerful. So check out the U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce, and your awesome expo is in April of 2026.
Yep. So on our website, you'll see a tab that says Conference 2026. We're going to do a ticket drop. You guys don't want to miss it. 24 hours. That's going to be the lowest ticket price. You can get on the sign up for that. And if you're listening to this and we've already dropped the ticket, sorry you missed it, but don't miss the conference.
Don't miss the conference. Rachel and I will be there as well, so we would love to see you and meet you in person if we haven't already. One of the things, shifting gears just a little bit, but because this is so important and I really want to touch on this, is you said that even though you were a minority as a woman in a man-driven profession, you use that you called it became your greatest strength. How did you do that?
Well, I didn't do it well at first. Let's just say this: I would bind myself up so that I looked more like the men, because I didn't want to stand out, and I didn't want them to treat me like a piece of meat. Not that these gentlemen that I worked with in the field would have, but I didn't want to be seen like that. And I remember we had the big execs come into town. We're in the field offices, and one of the execs, he kind of went to grab the door for me, to hold the door open for me, and I'll never forget, like, I rushed out in front of him, knocked his hand out of the way and said, I can hold the door open for you. Now, I'm not suggesting that I was doing that right. I had a little chip on my shoulder, just a little bit, right? And when I became an officer, I'm telling you, he came to me, and it was years later, and he said, I'll never forget when you ripped the door out of my hand. And I'm like, see, you remembered it though, you know? Yeah. So that was kind of part of my journey. But then once I realized that the skills and gifts that I had as a woman were my greatest strength. Again, it's like who God made you is your greatest strength. Trying to be the comparison trap. When you compare yourself to something else, that's how you kill something special. Yes. And I was killing everything special in me because I was trying to be like the men. But I did learn some tips and tricks to help me better communicate with men. For example, what I noticed is men don't talk face to face like this, right? They kind of do a side thing, cross, and they talk like this. So I realized, okay, if I'm up in their face, I'm making them feel uncomfortable. Let me kind of just step back and talk with the guys like this. I'm not bragging, but I can get really good off of the fairway. I'm telling you right now, that thing could go about 180, 200 feet down the fairway, okay? Because I needed to get out there and just be able to be where they were.
Hold your own.
Hold my own. Got to be tough, right? So I could compete, I could play with that, but what I really did was just learn that a woman's touch is a powerful thing when you're surrounded by a group of men. And my heart and love for business and people really came and shined in a group of male engineers. So I could vision where I wanted, they could build it, and we did incredible things. But I think that truly realizing that my greatest strength was my gender, my asset was me, and how God made me. And so instead of looking at it like different, or I'm never going to do this because I'm a woman, it was like, I'm going to do this because I'm a woman.
Yes. And the takeaway, one of the takeaways is whoever you are is, no one else can be you. You are uniquely and wonderfully made. And so lean in to who God has made you and use that to your strength. So much of your story was about you having the confidence to apply for that role, to call and ask about the director position.
Yeah, true.
Even the story with Myrna Deckard. Tell them about that. Who is Myrna Deckard?
Myrna Deckard. So when I got to El Paso, I had surpassed my mentor in the company. And we were basically, I didn't surpass her, but we were equal at this point. So we're both executives. And so I knew I needed a mentor. I cannot say enough about mentorship, women mentorship, huge for ladies and just even mentorship in the marketplace. But I kept hearing, so I'm the highest officer in El Paso, West Texas, and I kept hearing about this lady named Myrna Deckard. Myrna Deckard was running, I think, a $700 million or billion hedge fund. Again, numbers not so good at them. And of over El Paso, Paso del Norte, she was just this legend, founder of the YMCA in El Paso. So I'm like, I got to meet this Myrna Deckard. So I just like found her number, and I had my PR
white
guy.
pages.
Yeah, the white pages. Had my PR guy get her number, and I called her, and it was like a little kid calling out for a date. Like I felt like, I'm like, hi Myrna, this is Krystal Parker. And you don't know me, but I was wondering if you'd let me take you to lunch. And she did. Oh my gosh, fast friends. She opened so many doors for me in El Paso. She became my mentor, my friend, and just was awesome. But it really was because I called her, and I just asked to take her to lunch. And then I'm telling you, she not only mentored me, but other women in the gas company as well. She was instrumental for us.
I love that story because a lot of times we sit and pray, God, please bring this person, open the door, bring this person to my path. But sometimes we just have to take that step and overcome our fear and pick up the phone and call the person that we want to meet, no matter how scary it may be. But we've all heard the saying, it's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Or who knows you.
And yes. And so many of these opportunities in your life opened up because of the people you knew and the relationships you had built. And Myrna opened even more doors for you. But you had to first have the courage to pick up the phone and call her. So I just want to encourage people as well, if there's that person, that big fish, that person that you're dying to meet, as scary as it may be, sometimes you just got to do it.
You just have to do it. And the thing is do it, but don't ask for anything. Offer. You know, like for me, it was like, can I take you to lunch? It wasn't like, will you be my mentor? I think she would have been like, who are you and what are you even talking about? It was, can I just take you to lunch? I just want to know your heart, want to know your story. I've heard about you. You're a legend, you know? And then just see, again, it goes back to serve. How can I serve you? What can I do? And I just want to know you as a human, and the rest is history. But you're right. When God drops those people in your spirit, it's not by mistake or accident. Those are opportunities, because I can tell you, I'm not having the same thoughts you're having. I'm not thinking the same people you're thinking. There's a reason they're in your spirit, and it's up to us to make that step.
That's such a great point. Such a great point. And it just shows you, too, when you're obedient and you have faith and you trust the Lord, that there's not a single door He's not going to open for you.
Right.
Yes, because Myrna said yes.
Yeah, Myrna said
She
yes.
said yes, and you went about it the right way. When you compliment people, when you say, I'm so impressed by who you are, then they're like, thank you. Yes, I'll go talk to you more. And so just take a page out of Krystal's book, that person, you don't have to be so fearful, because they're going to be honored.
They have a journey too. Like anybody that's sitting in a seat of somewhere that you want to talk to, I guarantee you they got a story. There's no straight path to success. There is no golden spoon that's going to get you there. I can promise you, you've had closed doors, you've been punched in the chin, you've been punched in the chin, you've been punched in the chin. And the person that you're thinking of, they have a story too. And if they're on your heart, there's a reason for it, and they've got something that you need, or maybe you have something for them. And so, just trust God and make that outreach. And even if that door closes, even if they don't go like, oh, cool, let's talk. If that door closes, that's a testing ground for you, for the door that you're supposed to open. It's about obedience. It's not about results. It's the fig tree. This is something that's been on my heart lately, and it's in the Bible. And the person that's out there tending to the fields has this fig tree. It's not producing, and the owner comes by and is like, that's wasting space. Just get it out of here. And the gardener basically says, let me trench around it and fertilize it for one more year, and then if it doesn't produce, then we'll take it out. See, what we tend to do as human is we think we're responsible for the harvest. We think we're responsible for the fig. You're not responsible for the fig. If you're supposed to trench around that thing and fertilize it and water it, and ultimately it's up to God to determine whether or not there's figs. So if God says open a door, knock on a door, make a call, make the call. You're not responsible for the outcome. That might be between that person and God. That's not your decision. What you're supposed to do, water, fertilize, trench, water, fertilize, trench. God's the God of the harvest, and it will come as long as you stay obedient and don't quit.
That is so good. So good. So the last topic I want to talk about is your consulting company. In 2014, you started your own consulting company, and our listeners can definitely see all the knowledge and wisdom that you have to share through that business. Is it intent and impact?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that business and what your services are.
Yeah, so it's intent and impact because I help people deliver the impact their intentions deserve. And a lot of times we do things and we think it's going to be this great outcome and it doesn't hit the mark. And so what we want to do is help you be successful with your efforts, whatever that is. So even through my company is how I work with the Christian Chambers. And that has just been truly a blessing to be able to use my boutique consulting company to help grow Christian Chambers. I also work with executives in businesses. It all started with a consulting gig that I had for a board. I was part of a board, left that. When I left the gas company, the CEO was still there. He was having troubles with his board. He says, Parker, I know you're not doing anything. Help me write my resume. And I'm like, I'm not going to help you write your resume. Like, I put you in that as CEO. What's going on? Find out his board had shifted. There was some challenges there. So we created a board workshop and did it. It was very successful. And then I thought, oh, this is residual effort right here, right? This is residual income. I put the work into this, and now we can take this, package it up, and do it all around. And so that's what started my consulting company. And that was 10 years ago. It's evolved now into more business development. I work, again, with executive leaders, organizational structure strategy. I love strategy. Business strategy, 3 steps up there on the chessboard. Somebody else might be playing checkers. And it's just how it works sometimes. But that's the Spirit, the Lord bringing that into that conversation and helping executives be successful. So that's what I get to do.
And if someone wanted to learn more about your that business, how would they find you? Or
Yep, they can find me Intent and Impact on that. You can search for The Best Robot Wins. You'll find my website that way as well. And yeah, reach out.
And The Best Robot Wins is your book? Check out her book. Can they find it on Amazon?
Yep, you can find it anywhere books are sold.
Not only did you write The Best Robot Wins, but you are featured in a book, Threads of Wisdom, by Caroline
You are
Mendes.
too.
Thank you. So you can hear more about her story if you're intrigued to hear more than we were able to cover today in her chapter in the book. There's a chapter with my story in there as well, so you can double your value there if you check out that book.
Grab that book.
But Krystal, I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
The takeaways, I started trying to keep up with them and make notes, and I just couldn't even, because it was every 3 seconds there was just this.
We're going to be playing this episode back and back and back.
That's okay. I'm going to be playing that rap. I mean, I have been known as Lady K, so like, you're right up my alley here.
So just thank you for taking the time to come share with us and our listeners your so impressive story, super impressive story, and your heart, and being vulnerable to even share the tough times and the challenges that you've gone through. This has just been a memorable episode that I think people will listen to and reflect on for years.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltslegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltsmedia.com. Let's get biz done.